I'm Shawna Robins. I am founder and CEO of Third Spark. Today, I am doing an Authority Magazine interview with Taylor Berggren. She is the senior microbiome specialist at Pendulum Therapeutics. Taylor, thank you for joining me today. I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to chat with you about Pendulum.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so give me a little bit of background on Pendulum Therapeutics, what they do, and then you and I will dive into a good conversation about gut health and gut health for women.
Absolutely. Pendulum, I like to say is like that is our the most cutting edge kind of probiotic that you can find. It's founded by scientists. We actually brought to market the first new probiotic strain in 50 years when we launched Akkermansia muciniphila. This is a company that was started and founded by PhD scientists that were really looking to figure out like how can we leverage the microbiome to make meaningful change for people and their health. We focus primarily on different things that have to do with your metabolism and your metabolic health. And we're looking at new strains, developing how the actual technology on bringing these strains to the market, growing them, keeping them healthy, keeping them strong. How do you feed them in your body? How then do we test them to make sure they work? The company is really dedicated to that science, founded, like I said, by PhD scientists, one of which is Colleen Cutcliffe. She is maybe the voice that you've heard if you've heard any podcasts where somebody's talking about pendulum and just a really science and evidence-based company trying to make a difference for people, make a real measurable difference in your health with something that's natural.
And didn't she have a background with a child or something that was sick, and that's how she kind of came about this?
She did. So Colleen had her daughter prematurely, and when your baby's in the NICU, there's lots of antibiotics there. And so in kind of watching her daughter grow up and get a little bit older, she noticed that some of these things that we've started to link in the newer science with antibiotics, like food sensitivities, allergies, and things like that, her daughter was experiencing. And so I know that was one of those puzzle pieces that kind of started to lay that foundation for Pendulum and looking at the gut microbiome and looking at how you can modulate and help to stop those, improve the symptoms of different things that you're experiencing based on introducing new probiotic strains into your gut.
Awesome. That's such a great story. Okay, so talk to me about gut health. Can you just, in like one sentence, one overview, describe what gut health is and why we need to be aware and mindful of our gut health?
Yeah, absolutely. One sentence is so hard because there's so much there, but
Okay, two.
your two sentences. Okay.
Yeah.
So your gut health really is all of the microbes, the systems, the things that your microbes make that kind of run all through your body and actually act as a driver for creating short chain fatty acids. That's something that a lot of people talk about, right? Your neurotransmitters, different types of chemical reactions in your body that support literally every organ system. So as this research has developed, we know that there are links throughout your entire body with your gut. And so it's a very quickly developing science.
All right, well, talk to me a little bit about how your gut changes, especially for women as they age, when they start to go through hormonal changes and hit that menopause journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, there's a lot of evidence that shows that the perimenopause and menopause period for women is one of the times of sharpest decline in the diversity of your microbiome. So if you think back to a time in your life where you could like eat anything, drink anything, and you would wake up and you'd feel great the next day, that's probably when your microbiome diversity was at its peak. That's normally like
That
late
was a
teens to
long time
early
ago,
20s.
Taylor.
And so, yes, and so it there you kind of start to get this decline in your the number of different types of bacteria that are there, and it sharply declines in that period of perimenopause and menopause. Actually, so much so that up until that point, it's very easy to look at somebody's microbiome and determine, like, oh, this is a woman, this is a man.
Mm.
After menopause, you actually can't really tell with very much accuracy anymore. So there's a significant decline in the diversity, which means there's a significant decline in the function of what's happening. And one of those things, like the primary one, especially when we're talking about the hormone shifting that's happening within menopause and perimenopause, is that the microbiome is one of our main methods in our body to actually recycle the estrogen that circulates around in your body. So from the active form of estrogen to the inactive form. The microbes that do that are called the estrobolome. And so we start to see a huge shift because there's no more need to really do that at the amount at which you're doing it during like prior to those years. So that's one of those changes that starts to happen among a number of other ones.
Okay. So what if you're on HRT? Do you still find that they're not able to process estrogen the same way as your body making its own estrogen?
There is still some of that difference. It's
Mhm.
obviously some of it is blunted a bit when you're doing that hormone replacement therapy, but you are still getting a change in your microbiome because it isn't quite what your body makes at the timing that your body makes it in the way that your body makes it. And all of those systems work together really, really closely. Our bodies are really good at sniffing out what we made and what we didn't make. And so any shift in that is going to kind of change that microbiome.
That's interesting to know. Yeah. Okay, so if you're a woman and you're starting your perimenopause journey in your, wherever your 30s, your 40s, even your early 50s, right? What are some things that you can do that's really going to help to fortify your gut health so that you don't have, issues, digestion issues, nutrient absorption issues, all these other issues, right? That women see at this time, sleep issues, right? Sleep is
Yep.
so tied to gut health. What are some recommendations that you can make for them?
There are so many easy kind of natural things that I think we overlook because they're so rote, right? Like having a healthy diet that's filled with good fiber, making sure that you're eating polyphenols. Polyphenols are those plant chemicals that are really colorful and they provide a lot of benefit, but they also feed the beneficial bacteria that you're likely going to kind of drop off and lose during menopause. You can blunt that effect by really taking care of your diet. Another thing, right? Exercise. We know that there's a really strong connection between exercise and physical activity and the maintenance of some of these more keystone strains within your gut microbiome. And so being able to continue on in that can help not only regulate stress, which then will keep it more consistent, what's going on in your gut, but it will also push you in the right direction, so to speak. And just kind of a note on stress. I think we all know if you get really stressed, at least for myself, right? Your stomach tends to tell
Mhm.
you that you're stressed. That can look a little different for everybody, but changes in motility or the speed at which things move through your gut, something that can happen with stress because of the actual triggering of the neurotransmitters, the cortisol and the norepinephrine and the epinephrine can change that. But then it also will decrease the amount of mucus that your gut makes, and mucus kind of acts as this like sticky protective layer so that bad things don't get in and the good things stay where they need to stay. So there's all of these changes that can be modulated by that stress response and exercise, other types of stress management techniques that may work for you, right? That's very individual, but those can also help to maintain that gut lining, maintain that gut health as you're going through this transition.
Okay, and then how about sleep? How does that how does that transition affect our body's ability to synthesize melatonin for good sleep and the
Yep.
sleep-wake cycle and all of those great things?
Yeah. So our gut is actually the producer of most of our serotonin, and serotonin is the molecule that gets changed to make melatonin. So when you're thinking about having a healthy sleep cycle, being able to go through your circadian rhythm really effectively, like the regulation of melatonin is really important. And when you don't have enough serotonin or you have it misplaced, that can really affect what's going on with your sleep. And sleep changes, there have been some newer studies. There was one from October actually that showed that even in sleep deprivation, so you get in, it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing, right? If you start your anxiety is getting higher, your stress is getting higher, maybe you're really worried about this transition, and you start not sleeping as well. That sleep deprivation will actually result in changes in your gut microbiome. That can also kind of again push you towards that sharp decline that is really not as beneficial for maintaining gut health and maintaining just health overall.
And then the other factors that tend to happen when you don't sleep well and you're stressed, right? Like
Yep,
maybe you indulge in alcohol in the evening to help you
absolutely.
relax, or maybe you have sweets or,
Hmm.
something else that is going to affect your microbiome in a poor
Yep,
way.
absolutely. You're maybe focusing a little bit more on like caffeine, some things that will sort of disguise that you're really tired and that your body needs rest. And rest is the time in which everything can kind of renew and you can sort of get a little bit of a fresh start as much as we can in a day. It's a stressful period to be in, and so being able to like rest and reset is really important.
Yeah, those are really important skills I think that women need to develop as they get older to protect their gut health, but also, the gut brain connection, the gut
Yes.
connection. There's all these other, talk to me about all the systems in the body and how the gut is so important for those.
That we could talk about that for a couple of
Yeah.
hours, Shawna. One, like I said, pendulum, we focus on that metabolism link. So that really ends up trickling into kind of almost every single system in your body, even if we just followed like the creation of the GLP-1 hormone in your gut, right? That's going into your pancreas. It's going to affect like the way that things are circulating in your body. It goes to your brain, it goes to your heart, it goes to all of these different systems. We know, like you had mentioned, like that gut brain axis, there is this significant creation of neurotransmitters and molecules that become neurotransmitters in your gut, things that can help to maintain and stabilize mood. That's all happening within this matrix of your gut microbiome, all of these microbes that live within you and support your health. We know that there is a really strong link between what's going on in your gut and your skin. The integrity of your gut lining, allowing or not allowing for things to slip through, can show up very commonly in a psoriasis situation or an eczema. Those are pretty common, more commonly known links, I should say. And really like every single system, our muscles, the way that our muscles actually recover, the way that their metabolism, the way that they are moving during exercise and utilizing fats is linked with the way that your microbiome is set up. It kind of just goes on and on.
Mm. So gut health, number one. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, gut health
Um,
number one.
So let's talk about, you touched on GLP-1. I don't think a lot of people understand that GLP-1, that's got all the news now with Ozempic and
Yes.
the drugs. I don't think people realize that that's actually made in your gut,
Yeah.
helps to curb cravings. So
Yes.
Pendulum has a couple of great products that are,
Yeah.
yeah. So talk to me a little bit
Yes.
about the GLP-1 and the metabolic products.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start a little bit with the science. So then it kind of makes sense because you're totally right. There's this oversaturation of like the term GLP-1 in media right now, and it's not really well understood by everybody, which is totally valid. You're not commonly talking about the GLP-1 hormone that your gut makes. So, in this kind of scenario, what happens is when you eat some food, you eat something with fiber. That's really a key. So you eat something with fiber, it gets all the way down to your colon. The colon is like that last part, right, of our gastrointestinal system, and it's actually the site of most of our microbial activity. Once it gets there, what's happening is that if you have the right bacteria there, they're going to digest that fiber for themselves, and then they're going to create molecules like butyrate. There's going to be the kind of these molecules that come off from that interaction. Those then tell your gut cells to make the GLP-1 hormone. And this is a hormone that your body makes naturally. And that actually goes, like I said, all throughout your body. So it's going to go to your pancreas. It's going to tell your pancreas, like, hey, let's make insulin. Let's make sure that what's coming in, we're going to use it really effectively in our body. It's going to tell your brain to tell your stomach, hey, we're eating, we've got enough, you can be done now. And it's going to actually help you to feel fuller longer because it's signaling throughout your body in the right way. When you look at something that's like a GLP-1 injection, and you're kind of looking at what they're doing, that's a synthetic form that you're giving your body. So like I said, fiber is really that dependent piece. So you kind of get this high of GLP-1 and then this low when you're hungry. And that kind of helps your body to know, hey, I'm hungry again. Then you
Mm.
kind of get a peak again and it kind of goes down. With those injections, you get this steady state of GLP-1 that's just coming in. So you're always kind of feeling that. But we can, by utilizing the gut microbiome, increase that. And there are two strains that have been shown in science to increase the actual production of GLP-1. And they are Akkermansia muciniphila and Clostridium butyricum. Those are the only two that we have noted in literature that can do that. So again, pendulum, right? I said innovation and kind of this cutting edge science is the backbone of what we're doing. We put those together in a few different products. And what that product does, what we've seen is that it actually helps to do exactly what the science says, make more GLP-1 hormone. And that in turn feels like to you, it's going to feel like I'm not really craving that chocolate in the afternoon. I'm not really craving like that Sunday after dinner. I hear a lot from customers that are saying like, I thought this was me. I thought that I just had no self-control. I've been told my whole life, like if you just tried harder, you wouldn't need to eat that. And so much of this is modulated by the microbiome. So it is really exciting. So to get back to your direct question, right? Those products, right? They're combining those two bacteria that really have that powerful effect in your body. So there's the GLP-1 probiotic that you can find on Amazon, and that one has those two in pretty high strains. But then it's also in our Metabolic Daily, which has a couple other strains that really support overall metabolism throughout your body, making sure that you're getting all of those different compounds made in your gut that you're looking for.
Mm. Well, like I told you off camera, I've been using the GLP-1 for a while now just to kind of curb my afternoon cravings. And it's very powerful, especially when you can, you know, switch your habits, right? So instead of having like some dark chocolate or, something sweet in the afternoon that kind of gives me a bump to get through the day, I can, like I said, use protein
Yep,
along with, the GLP-1 formula. And I really noticed that my body is more easily adaptable to accepting a healthier habit in the afternoon.
absolutely.
And I like that you kind of talked about how it's based on fiber because
Hmm.
women typically do not get enough fiber. And when I talk to my clients about this, they always say, well, what am I supposed to take a fiber supplement? What am I supposed to do? They don't even realize that things that are full of fiber, like avocados and raspberries and
Yep,
things like that, that are so easy for them to add into their diet. So I think, the combination of the two, right? Making sure that you have the right probiotics in your system and then making sure that you're feeding them what they need to be able to, work for you is really important.
absolutely. And it is definitely like primarily a fiber game. But like I said earlier, polyphenols play a really important piece here too. And so making sure that you are eating a variety of fruits and vegetables with a lot of colors is the best way to ensure that you're getting a variety of polyphenols. Um, Pendulum also has a polyphenol booster, which again, we tested to make sure like, does this actually help our Akkermansia grow? And it does. And that contains polyphenols from pomegranates, green tea, and grape seeds. So you're really looking at, again, like if you were to incorporate like matcha into your day, like that's another way. That's a way to get those polyphenols. It's not a way necessarily to get that fiber unless you were to add something else to your matcha latte, but it is another way
Smoothies.
to,
I put
yes,
matcha in my
smoothies.
smoothies with
Oh,
all
I
of my
love that.
goodies.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
great.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
And that's a great way to get that mix of like fiber and polyphenols to come through and feed all of those beneficial bacteria.
Well, I've noticed such an improvement in my sleep as well, my cravings
Yes,
and my sleep with adding in the formula that you guys have. So I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today. Um,
absolutely.
I really feel like the more we can join together and teach women how to take care of their gut health, especially as they age, the healthier they're going to be and just the better their system is going to be working on all cylinders. And that's really what we want at this stage in the game. I call it the third spark because we're the first generation that actually has 30 years after menopause to be vibrant. And we can choose whether we want to be healthy and vibrant or whether we want to be sick and frail or,
Yeah,
whatever way that we want to age authentically, we can choose that. But for women who choose to be really, energetic and vibrant and healthy, I think gut health is, the foundational piece that needs to
I
happen.
absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And thinking really carefully about not only what you put in your body as far as food, but looking, if you're going to look for a probiotic supplement, looking for something that's a live strain that is really like backed by science, looking at functionally what do you need to happen for yourself and kind of understanding. I'm a big proponent of like really understand what's going on in your body, which you're doing a great job of educating your audience on. And then support that with things that are going to actually are documented to be able to improve that. This was lovely to be able to connect and happy to connect again if there are more burning questions on gut health that come up.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do another one of these. So Pendulum, you mentioned, is on Amazon. What are other ways that people can find the product?
Absolutely. You can also find us online at pendulum.co. So that's our, you can order it direct to your house. It comes shipped to you. It'll be ready, has some instructions. And we do have all, obviously like some perks when you are signing up with us directly. You get access to myself and my team who are there to help support you along this gut health journey. I take calls, one-on-one calls with different people that are coming in and have questions or just kind of want a little bit more help. And we've got a team of registered dietitians ready to do that for you. Things like that. So you can go to our website, pendulum.co, or you can find many of our products on Amazon as well.
Awesome. Thanks. I appreciate it, Taylor.
Yep.